Well, good afternoon, and we're back again at Vicarage Road for the EFL Championship fixture as Watford take on the Millers, Rotherham United. Yes, Watford with a good 2-0 victory against the Tangerines Blackpool last week after goals from Toby Adeyemo and that man again, Ismail Assar from the penalty spot. Ultimately, it's a good result from the Hornets, and we're just going to be looking to keep up the pace at the top of the table. We're really struggling to get close to Burnley or Sheffield United, but the key thing is we're in the mixer, and a few new names have arrived, the likes of João Ferreira, who made his debut last week, as did Matheus Martins, but also we have now got the signing of Henrique Araujo. I think that's how it's pronounced, I don't know, but he looks really promising from Benfica. Hopefully, will do business for us and get the goals that we need to fire us back into the playoff picture and then hopefully into the Premier League. But it's an interesting opponent, Rotherham, today, because, previous to last weekend, I wasn't too worried about this match, but Rotherham with a 4-0 thumping of Blackburn last weekend, I mean, they scored in the first 32 seconds of the game, so they certainly have got good players. They've got set-piece threats like Richard Wood, who scored in the reverse fixture after about 2 minutes, I think. So we really have to be switched on. We always say this with Watford, but we'll say it again. It's important we start the game well, because, if we start sitting back and, entertaining Rotherham to come at us, then the game will play out exactly as we don't want it to. We can't let them take that kind of control in a home fixture. So I think as long as we impose ourselves enough and make ourselves known, that will be, the key. And I'll be looking at, another good performance from Ismail Assar today, because I think, although he got the goal from the penalty and he, did well enough to kind of put it away after that good foul won by the new player Matheus Martins, I think just a bit more from Sarr would be great in terms of chances created and shots, being put on, because he's ultimately not that involved in games. But we know how good he can be. It's just, it'd be nice to see it on a more consistent basis. However, we do go into today with hopefully a strong squad. There are still a lot of injuries. Imran Louza is one of them. Of course, we're massively missing because of what he gives to our squad. And obviously, we'd love another centre-back, but it doesn't look like that's going to be a priority, unfortunately, right now. The window is very difficult during January to get deals done. And we have been linked with Facundo Pelestri from Manchester United, but that is just, hanging in the balance. I'm not quite sure. So, we've got players we're trying to bring in. We've brought in, Ferreira. I'd like to bring in another fullback, to be honest, because we're very thin on that department. Like, we've got Ken Sema, who we can play there, but he's not currently fit, and he's, not really suited to that position. We've got Hassan Kamara, who, hopefully should be back for today. And, I think he's very good in that position, but ultimately, that's all we've got on the left-hand side, and Ngaki has not been that good this season, unfortunately. So I do worry for that position, but hopefully Ferreira, if he does start again, can play well again. I mean, I think he did get better as he went on against Blackpool. It's a shaky start, but he'll start, getting settled in. And yeah, ultimately, I'm just hoping that the Hornets can really show an impressive performance. That's all we ever ask for. Rotherham, they've got an interesting manager as well, Matt Taylor, who, he's had a lot of clubs he's gone to in his playing career, and now as a manager, he knows what he's doing. Rotherham have got decent players over the last few years. They've had the likes of Freddie Ladapo, so we do have to be careful and not look at Rotherham and think this is an easy 3 points. But we did get the job done the last time we met them, 2-0, with the goal coming from Troy Deeney and Christian Cabaselli. But hopefully more defenders can chip in this time. I'm going for a 2-1 narrow victory. I think that will be important, to get the victory and follow up that Blackpool result. But I think Rotherham will score first through Richard Wood in 37 minutes. Watford get their equaliser in the second half through the Senegalese Ismaila Sarr on 59 minutes, who I do have to mention is my captain in EFL fantasy football, so come on Ismaila. And then of course the new kid on the block who everyone's excited about in Hornet yellow, it's Mateus Martins to get the winner in the 90+3 absolute limbs at Vicarage Road. It'd be nice as well to, show a bit more of a kind of creation of chances, because look, ultimately the first half of that game against Blackpool was pretty dead. So if we can get going, get the cogs burning and cogs turning from the front very beginning, then that would be much better to see. Obviously Sheffield United and Burnley played yesterday in the EFL Championship, both with victories, so they keep pulling away. And Norwich currently beating Coventry, so we know how tight it is there, so that's important that we keep on this form. And hopefully go into the next game with another result. So come on you Orns, let's do this. It's time to beat the Millers. Watford! Watford! Yellow or me! Yellow or me! Come on, Watford! Come on! This ref needs to watch out the time wasting because it's absolutely ridiculous.
They've got to be what? 20, 18 yards, that's 6, 7. They've got to be 3 back from the penalty spot. They've got to be halfway between the penalty and the penalty, haven't they? That's where they've got to be. Halfway between that. It's not, no, there's 1 more yard, it's another yard. It's another yard outside. That's another yard.
How long does that line need to be?
That's
all 10 players behind the ball.
That needs to be another yard.
Yeah. That's not long enough.
In this situation, wouldn't you put someone on the post? I suppose you get that side down, and then we can bring you around. We get silence. Kelly comes out quite quick.
Top bins, top left.
Just needs a ding.
Top left.
Doesn't need much power. That was a bit of a disaster 30 seconds, isn't it?
Come on, Watford. Come on, Watford! Come on! Go on, Hamza. Oh, it's not quite a corner. I think it is now. I think it's all over. It is now. Oh, Well, just stop at the short corners and whip it in.
Ball again, come on.
Back up.
Cycle it.
Forward. Forward. Go on, Hamza. There he goes. Go on.
Go on. Well done, Craigie. Come on, Watford. Another corner, come on! Come on, Watford!
Watford FC! Watford FC! Watford FC! Watford FC! Watford FC!
Someone, go on. Anywhere, isn't it? It's taking anywhere at the moment.
Come on, Watford! Forward!
It's high over that 3 probably.
Lose it.
No, don't lose it there! Hey! Come on, Watford, just one last push. Full time, and it's finished at Vicarage Road in match week 28 of the EFL Championship 2022-23 season. Watford FC 1, Rotherham United 1. Yep, the exact same scoreline as the reverse fixture, in which Richard Wood and Vakun Bayo got on the score sheet. Richard Wood benched for Rotherham this afternoon, and it was a goal for Rotherham from Shane Ferguson that got them up and running. You just knew that they were going to score the first goal because Watford are such slow starters out of the blocks. But look, ultimately, it's a decent point. It's not great, but we showed a bit of character to get a goal back in the second half. And João Ferreira, who I was banging on about, waxing lyrical last week as a baller, my new favourite Watford player after he signed from Rio Ave on loan from Benfica, and I thought he looked quite good against Blackpool. Obviously started off quite shaky, but then grew into it and looked quite assured by the end. But today, his first full start, his debut in full, and what a way to cap that off with a goal. Really great goal as well. Drove forward, really went for it, and a composed finish, stroking it into that bottom left corner. But ultimately, a bit of a frustrating afternoon when all things considered, because it was a chance for Watford to keep up the kind of pressure on Burnley and Sheffield United at near the top of the table. It was a chance to get away from the teams that are just stacked behind us in the playoffs places, you know, the likes of Middlesbrough, the likes of Blackburn and Luton. But unfortunately, it couldn't be that 3 points that we all craved so dearly. And, you know, performance-wise, it wasn't perfect today. It was certainly better from Watford in the second half. We took it up a gear, and ultimately, Rotherham, in many parts of the second half, was struggling to get out of their own half and struggling to, you know, pose much threat. Although I say that, I think Rotherham actually looked more of a threat going forward in the second half than they did the first, strangely enough, because other than the goal they scored through Ferguson, they didn't pose much threat to Backman's goal, and, you know, the goal kind of came a bit against the run of play. But they did look a bit dangerous in periods in the second half. It was a bit fleeting. It wasn't a consistent period, but they got a few times down Watford's, you know, left-hand side. Hassan Kamara looked a little bit shaky and not quite pulling into challenges. And that was a bit of a scare, especially when that chance came in the second half. You know, a really good piece of play from Rotherham. They put the passes together. Watford looking at 6s and 7s and a bit out of shape and really struggling to get players back. And then all alone, Rotherham have a man out there. They square it to him, and Backman fortunately comes out very, very well to smother it and stop the chance. But, you know, the game kicked off in a very interesting way. You know, it was just a bit slow and stop-starty to begin with. The first 15 minutes, a few injuries, a bit of time wasting from Rotherham. Yes, believe it or not, time wasting that early on in the game. And the referee, I've got to say, had a very peculiar performance. A lot of decisions where, you know, he was giving it against Watford when it was a clear foul on our player. And talking of which, let's discuss those penalty incidents, because they were pretty clear and obvious, even without VAR in the Championship. That, for me, was a stonewall penalty in the second case in that first half. The third one, I mean, it's debatable, but the amount of times that in that first half, 3 occasions, Watford, very decent penalty shouts, and the referee just doesn't even consider it, doesn't even bat an eyelid. So, yeah, he was strange today. But the game started off in a decent fashion. Watford with a great opportunity and a really unlucky chance. Mario Gaspar, a lovely little dink in from Ismail Assar into the path of Gaspar. And it's a difficult chance. You know, Gaspar, who has been playing well recently in that, you know, adjusted midfield position where he usually isn't playing, he's been really good in his performances, and he turns well, he has a good shot, and it's unfortunately wrong side of the post, just clips the outside of the post and goes out. Then Rotherham, time waste as much as they like, keep on getting the game and really frustrating us with it. And then a really good piece of goalkeeping from Daniel Backman. I mean, it's a really great save, because it was a strong shot. It was just a kind of half volley that was hit really ferociously, and it was sneaking in. And Backman just got across his goal really, really well to see out for a corner. The corner comes in, and then a little bit of time comes after that, and then a great shot from Rotherham, really well into the kind of corner. And Backman sprawls across and makes a second great save. But unfortunately, he could only parry it out into the path of Shane Ferguson, who, you know, to be fair to the lad, on 20 minutes finishes well. It's a tight angle, and he just really followed it in well and steered it back into the back of the net. So Rotherham get the lead, and it's just a bit of a, you know, flash in the pan, a bit of a goal against the run of play, because Watford weren't creating a lot, but they were still looking better than Rotherham at that stage. And then Watford, they kind of needed that goal to go in against them to kind of wake them up a little bit. And then all out of a sudden, Rotherham also hit the crossbar after the woodwork was struck by that chance for Gaspar. Another chance, and I think Backman just kind of tries to go for it, tries to punch it. It's a header, and then the header hits the woodwork, with Rotherham not getting the second. Then Bio with a really good opportunity from a great set piece, it's got to be said. Inventive the stuff from Watford sending it in, and I think it might have taken a deflection, but it was given as a goal kick. Bio got on the end of it, and unfortunately, although it was inventive, it wasn't quite good enough to score, and it just went over the bar onto the top of the net. And then that ball for Ismail Assar, whipped in by the new starting fullback Ferreira. I mean, that was a great cross. That really was, wanting to be attacked, and Sarr did just that, but unfortunately his body positioning was just not quite in the right angle, and his volley was put wide. Then he just gets bodied, Ismail Assar, by Rotherham's defender, and the ref just completely ignores it. And yeah, 3 penalty shouts in the space of 45 minutes was just crazy. Second half comes around, you think, okay, we're a bit unfortunate to go in 1-0 down. Referee is absolutely having a stinker. There's been a lot of time wasting. Surely this game changes. And Watford showing encouragement from the get-go with a shot from his Watford, their new man, Matheus Martins, and it's a good shot, but it hits the bar again. So really unlucky there. And then it's a great goal from Ferreira. You know, it's a driving run. He picks up the ball, and you think, okay, he's doing well here. He might do something. But then he keeps going, and he said, okay, go for even further. That's brilliant. And he keeps on going, and after a really good run, he just passes it into the bottom corner. Really composed finish. It reminded me of, you know, Daryl Janmaat back in the day in his Watford colours, just cutting inside and then a really nice finish. Not quite the Chelsea goal that was scored in that 4-1 victory, but still very, very good in its own right. And then, of course, we had that moment where, you know, it was really, really good from Watford up to a point, but then that chance for Rotherham where you think he's got to score, and Backman smothers it really, really well. I've got to say, Martins today, first half, a lot of the time we were trying to get it into him, and we were using him as an avenue to get forward. Second half, that wasn't the case, and he kind of ebbed away a little bit in his performance. So, unfortunate. He didn't play too badly, though, Matheus Martins. And as we say, with Backman, he had a great kind of game. It's just a shame about him conceding and that follow-up goal. Couldn't get it, you know, over the bar, but he still had some great saves, Backman. And defensively, I didn't think we were awful today. It was just frustrating that we couldn't get that second, and frustrating that, you know, the game just kind of ebbed away from us. There was something missing in our creativity today. I'm not quite sure what it was. But ultimately, it's not the best result because we needed a win. We need that automatic promotion in an ideal world, and we are far off it. So, really good finish from Ferreira from 20 yards, but you know, it was just a frustrating one with the referee, with the woodwork, with the time wasting. It just wasn't quite falling for us today, and unfortunately, we're still third. And still 13 points behind Sheffield United, so it's going to be a massive, massive task for us to get into that top 2. But if we can just get on a good run, we've got a big month in March, some big games in February as well. You know, some difficult sides coming up, so that's why it's disappointing today, because it felt like a game that we could have won and probably should have won based on the opposition. But look, Rotherham, as kind of underwhelming as they were, did frustrate us and did just find a way to kind of stop us from doing what we wanted to. And yeah, I mean, first half was better from Rotherham. You know, they had that free kick and the bar laser shot, but that was ultimately all it really came to from Rotherham. And I think second half there was some decent performances. Ultimately, off the bench, a lot of them couldn't make an impact. You know, we saw in the second half Adeyemo come on, didn't really do much. We also saw Adu Poku as well, and Asprilla tried to kind of change the game a little bit. It was a difficult game for a lot of players. I thought Gaspar played all right. I thought Hassan Kamara was not brilliant, to be honest. Off the bench, he didn't exactly fill me with loads of confidence. But I'm really, really happy with Choudhury today. I think he was man of the match. He was really solid in his challenges. Just kept on winning the ball back, and yeah, he's been great since that arrival from Leicester City. So all in all, we'll take it. It's not ideal, but we move up to the next game, and it's Middlesbrough away. Tricky one, that one, but we got to do what we can to get the 3 points. Come on, you Horns!